Hello everyone, today I wanted to show you a very cool way to estimate pi using C++ and Raylib. We'll create this basic visualization that generates random points and based on that is able to compute pi. You can see that as the program runs it slowly but surely converges to pi. So yeah, let's get started. Now before we start coding, let's quickly understand why our algorithm works. If we imagine a circle with a radius of 1, within a square with a side length of 2, the area of the circle would be pi and the area of the square would be 4, since 2 times 2 is 4. Now, if we generate a lot of random points inside of that square, the fraction of points that land inside of the circle should be roughly equal to the fraction of the square's area occupied by the circle. So, the points inside of the circle divided by the total points is equal to this, pi divided by 4. Now if we multiply both sides by 4, we get that pi is equal to 4 times the area of the circle divided by the area square, or our estimation of the points lying inside of the circle divided by the total points that we have placed. With this algorithm, which is, or this approximation, which we call the Monte Carlo approximation, we'll try to approximate pi in our program. Okay, so let's jump into the implementation of this, and the first thing we'll have to do is our basic boilerplate Raylib stuff. So we'll have to initialize the window, give it a width of 1000, and let's also give it a height of 1000, and the title would be Monte Carlo. And now what we'll do is we'll set the target FPS and let's set it to something high. And now let's create our main loop, which runs while we shouldn't close the window. And in there we'll pull our input events, like so. And we'll begin drawing and end drawing. And in between here we'll clear our background to be black, like so. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, we can start actually programming our approximation. So for that, let's create a class called pi estimation. And what we'll do in here is we'll create a public and a private section. And in the private section, we'll have a vector of points that we'd like to have. So those are all of our random points that we've placed. So let's call that the points, like so. And now what we'll do is we want to have an update and a draw function. So in the update function we'll add a new circle or a new point to our points vector, and in the draw function we'll just use Raylib functions to actually display that. Now let's begin with the update function. The thing we'll do in here is we'll generate a random point, and for that we need a random number generator. So let's create a function for that returns a float, and let's call it get random 01. And what we'll do is we'll have a std empty 19937. That's a generator. We'll initialize it with std random device, like so. And let's make that static. And now let's return a std uniform real distribution. Yeah, of floats from 0.0f to 1.0f. Yeah, and we'll have to pass in our generator in here. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's also add a new method called get random point. And let's make that point from -1 to 1. So that's our point, like so. And the point.x will be equal to get random 01 times 2 minus 1 to make it between -1 and 1. And let's do the same for y. We could have also just did that in here, so set the range in here to -1, but yeah, I don't want to change that now. Okay, so we'll return the point, and now in the update we'll get this random point, and like so. And now we want to add that point to our endpoints. So let's immediately do that, like so. Okay. And the next thing we'd like to do is we'd like to determine whether or not that point is inside of our circle. So let's actually add a new field called inside, and that is the amount of points that are inside of this circle. And for that we'll have to check if it's inside. So the way we'll do that is we'll get the point, and what we'll do is well, to determine whether or not the point is inside, we'd have to take the squared x and y, add them together, and if that distance is bigger than 1, that would mean that it's inside of the square and outside of the circle. So let's do the following. We'll check, well, if the point dot x times the point dot x plus the point dot y times the point dot y is bigger than 1, then it's not inside. So if it's smaller or equal to 1, then it is inside. So we'll increase inside. Okay. Now we've got the update logic done, and what we can do next is we can try to draw this. So the way we'll do that is, well, we'll have to draw each point in our endpoints. And we want to draw that point in a blue color if it's inside of the circle, and in a red color if it's inside of the circle, and in a blue color if it's inside of the square. So what we'll do is, well, we'll draw that point, or draw a circle on the point dot x, point dot y. Let's give it a radius of 2, and then we'll have to determine if it's inside. And based on that, we'll draw it in a red color if it's inside, and in a blue color if it isn't. Now we'll have to kind of adjust it, because right now the coordinates are normalized from -1 to 1, and we'll have to adjust that to our screen dimensions. So let's actually determine the radius of our circle, and we'll set that to be the screen width, get screen width divided by 4, like so, and thus the square's size will be the screen width divided by 2. And what we'll do is we'll check if, well, if it's inside is still determined through the same thing. So we'll just do this. However, instead of drawing it here, we'll do the following. We'll get the center position. So let's calculate the center position of the circle and the square. So the center position of the screen would be the screen width divided by 2.0f, and the screen height divided by 2.0f. And we'll draw that circle at the center position dot x plus the point dot x, and the point x is multiplied by the radius. And we'll do the same for this, like so. And with that, we might already have something working. So let's try to visualize this. So this is our estimation, and in here what we'll do is we'll update our estimation, and we'll draw estimation after clearing the background. So let's try to run this. And yeah, you can see right here, the basic logic is already done. We get this estimation of pi. This circle display. And now how do we calculate our estimation? Well, we've got an amount of things, or amount of points that are inside, and we've also got a total points that we've placed. So the total would be m_points.size, and the m inside would be how many are inside. So since we've determined that the total points, or the points inside divided by the total points times 4 is pi, that is our estimation. So let's create a float, pi estimate, and that is the m inside divided by the total, right? And all of that times 4. Now what we'll have to do is we'll have to cast one of those into a float to not get a narrowing conversion, or because dividing two integer numbers or integral numbers will result in them being floored, right? So we'll have to cast one of them into a float. And now that is our pi estimate. So let's now create a string for the text we'd like to display. Let's call it the display text, and that is a std format pi estimate, and in here we'll place our pi estimate, like so. Let's now also include format and remove these unnecessary libraries. Okay, so now we want to draw text where we'll give our display text.data. Let's do it at 1010. The font size can be something big, and let's set a white color. And now let's try to run this again. And yeah, you can see it almost is starting to work, and we're converging to pi. Now what we can also do is you can just maybe run this way more often. And now you can see right here we're estimating pi way more quickly. Now this is basically the core logic already done, and this is a very nice way to estimate pi, and it also looks very cool in my opinion. And yeah, now you might already notice that the program is starting to slow down after some time, and that's very natural because, well, we are using a vector to store all of the points, and because we're doing that, well, the vector has to resize a lot, and it takes up a lot of space in the heap, since we're doing this 600 times a second and then times 100. So the vector is growing quite fast, and it'll have to reallocate a lot of times, which is quite expensive. So a better way to do that would be using a rendered texture, and instead of storing all of these and redrawing them each frame. But yeah, I just wanted to show you this way of doing things, and yeah, how just a few lines of codes can create a very, very cool output. And yeah, if you like the video, make sure to leave a subscribe and a like. And also I'd like to add that I have a Discord server, so if you're interested in C++ or programming in general, you can make sure to join that server. Okay, bye bye.